All right. This is O-Scale Central Online. It is our June 11, 2022 presentation. Before the recording started, I did a brief preview of what we're going to see, but in keeping with our usual practice, I'm going to ask that each person here who wishes to do so to give a 3-sentence presentation, who you are, where you are, and what you do. I'm going to start with Joe Barker.
I'm Joe Barker. I live in Alameda, California, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. I model mostly in 3-rail-O, but I do have a small collection of O-Scale 2-rail, and I'm interested in promoting the hobby. I attended O-Scale West, and I can talk about that later.
All right, Dan Dowdy, and you'll need to unmute yourself.
Yep, Dan Dowdy. I live in Dwight, Illinois. I own, along with my wife, the O-Scale Resource Magazine, and I model freelance stuff, 1947. So between the magazine and modeling in the basement and 3D printing, I'm kept pretty busy.
Good. Ross Dando.
My name is Ross Dando. I live in Meridian, Idaho. I model Rock Island in the late 70s timeframe. Twin Star Cars and Modern Era O-Scale are my 2 current companies, and I tend to produce things that I need for my modeling, and like to make those available to everybody else, and just enjoying getting to know 2-rail O-Scale. I was an HOer here up until about 7 years ago when I came over to the dark side and model in Proto 48.
Great. Walter?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name's Walter Horlacher, and I've been in O-Scale virtually my whole life, and recently retired up here 20 miles north of Gainesville, Florida. I modeled primarily the Milwaukee Road in the 60s and 70s, and sprinkling of other Midwest roads of that era, and do have a recent interest also in Seaboard, since I'm up here on the Seaboard S-line, and we have our own modular O-Scale group, the Southeastern Florida O-Scalers, and I've got 6 members, and they're all 100% NMRA, and that's it.
Great. Jim Keene.
Jim Keene from the Columbus, Ohio area, and I model in O-Scale 2-rail, and presently this week I'm modeling the DT&I Railroad. So that's kind of interesting.
Brother Larson.
Good afternoon. Just up from the basement, just finished excavating a place for a new store on the layout. Live in the Boston area and love 2-rail.
Go get him. I miss Bob Jellin. I think of him as having a name that begins with a J, but we all know it begins with a K.
That's right. It's a good Norwegian name, Kjelland. I live in northern Colorado, and I'm modeling a proto regional railroad out of Jamestown, North Dakota.
Eric Peterson.
Yeah, I'm in Carmel, Indiana, and I model O-Scale 2-rail and model CSX and predecessors back to steam. My layout is now in its 5th basement after moving from its 2nd garage.
Jamie.
I live in Turner, Maine, and I'm modeling a small short line in the state of Vermont, interchanging with the Central Vermont and the B&M, and doing it in Proto 48, also on the dark side.
Right. David Schultz.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dave Schultz from Canyon, Minnesota, which is near Duluth, Minnesota. Model the Northern Pacific in Proto 48 2-rail.
Excellent. Did I miss anybody? All right. Thank you all for.
I'll say.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I have that same problem coming at the end of the alphabet.
I like to put my plug in for the Chicago Great Western. I love those Granger roads, and that's what I like to model.
and I'm located in Swiftwater, Pennsylvania. And it's good to see everybody.
And the Chicago Great Western is famous for operating consists consisting of cab units A, B, 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 A. So, all right. Anyway, thank you all for making yourselves available. Thank you for participating. And what I want to do is to start with just a couple of shorter newsworthy items, and let's go directly to Dan Dowdy. Do you have some news we can use?
Oh, I always got news we can use. I know somebody's going to talk about California, so I won't delve in too much to that. But there were some exciting things out there. Of course, Ross and his two companies were represented with cars. John Cagle came all the way up from Florida. He has restocked his outside braced cars that he sold out of in Chicago. So that was kind of nice to see. And he's got a tank car that he's working on. I just finished the patterns for the spring plank for the AARB trucks for Lou at Central Locomotives. So that should be out in about a month. That'll be a direct drop-in replacement in brass for the Weaver RS3s, RS2s. So it's going to be kind of like the P&D drop-in replacements that he's making. And apparently he is rerunning those castings. So if they're out of the Blomberg trucks or anything else, I know that he is redoing those. So although the store may be no more, the website will be getting bigger and better. So we'll have more stuff out there. So that's good. There's a bunch of people doing some beautiful 3D drawings. There's a young lady overseas in Austria by the name of Sarah, and I'll butcher her last name, so I won't even try. But she has done some door castings for the Intermountain cars, along with some door hardware. And she put those up on her website. And I've been printing them here for people in the US. I don't charge for it. I just charge you to mail. So if you see something, for the door castings or the door itself, she's coming up with a lot of hardware. I told her that I would print them here and get those out to people at no charge. And other than that, I know what else is happening here? I know that there's talk of an S1 that may be developed. It's going to be a few months before that really gets going. That again would come under Central Locomotive Works. I know a couple of guys that are hitting them pretty hard to do an early EMD switcher. So we'll have to see if that comes to fruition and how that's going to happen. Otherwise, the Chicago show website is updated. You can now make your reservations at the hotel if you want, although it's quite a ways out yet, but you can do that. You can also sign up online now and pay on ready to go. And the next job will be working with Bob and getting the national website up and taking reservations too when that time comes. So that's about it.
Thank you, Dan. I'm asking Eric Peterson to give us an update on the recently completed Indy Junction convention and to give us a look forward at the upcoming NMRA National. One of our jobs is to reach out and show the flag and show our wonderful models to non-O-scalers. There are a lot of folks out there that have never heard of, let alone seen, O-scale that doesn't have a rail running right down the middle. So we're trying to educate the world on this. Eric, what you got?
Yeah, we had a very good convention for 3 NMRA regions, plus the Railroad Prototype Modeler Group out of Chicago, all combined for one event in May 18th through 22. We had 5 layouts. built to 1/48 scale, open for tours. 2 were P48, 2 were traditional O, and 1 O in 30. We gave 3 clinics with a O-scale connection. David did 2 different topics, and I did one on electrical wiring. David talked about Armstrong's history and also a pitch for O-scale. So each of those was also done twice. We had Jim Cantor's layout, sectional layout on display right in the center of the lobby where everybody was coming and going. Also right next to the food stand. So I think we had a pretty good event. We had over 500 people register for the event and attend. And then we had another 300 people come in for the train show over the weekend. We had several displays or vendors there for O-scale equipment and supplies. So we had a pretty good time. And so then the next big event is the NMRA National Convention, Gateway St. Louis, August 7th through 14. We're going to have 3 O-scale layouts available for tours. We've yet to fill in what we're going to do for clinics, but I'm sure we'll have several clinics. And we're going to have a display layout. The Wingate layout will be in the special interest group area that this year will also be where the tour buses are departing. So there's going to be a lot of traffic right around that layout. And we'll also have a small tabletop layout in the National Train Show. So we got a lot going on. Encourage people to consider attending these all-scale events, and a whole lot of clinics and information and tours, prototype tours, including a railroad trip on the Terminal Railroad Association in St. Louis. Those things are all available for registration that's open now.
You got an NMRA website address that people can go to?
It's always the same nmra.org. We'll get you started.
All right. Thank you, Eric. We're very excited about the O-scale National Convention coming up in 2023. And Bob Jellin, who apparently has strong masochistic tendencies because he did it in 2021 and came back to do it in 2023, is now moving, and he is traveling incognito today with a blank screen and a muted microphone. If you can give us an update, Bob, there you go.
So, well, greetings, everyone. By way of explanation, I'm recovering from a rotator cuff surgery. I'm just a couple of weeks out from the surgery, and so I'm doing a lot of grimacing, which is why I'm not sharing that screen too much. But let me give you a quick update. The National O-scale Convention will be held in Aurora, which is a suburb of Denver, Colorado. Next year, 2023, June 8th through the 11th. The 8th is a Thursday. That will be set up. Friday, Saturday will be the show itself. Sunday will be open for layout tours and other activities that we have available, rail related, non-rail related. It's a great tourist place to be. We're going to have 4 layouts on the layout tour package so far, 2 that were on the last national convention and 2 new ones. We're actually working with the, among other things, you mentioned Sarah earlier. I've already reached out to her as a possible a clinician to give a presentation. I've talked to a number of other clinicians. I'm actually working with the layout design group, special interest group, to do, we're looking at doing 2 specific breakout sessions. One would be on the organics of O-scale, and one would be on the mechanics of O-scale. The mechanics being radius, practical radius, turnout, frog size, track centering, and then the organics would have a little bit more to do with the scenery and buildings that go around that track. So the layout design SIG is interested in working with us on a program or 2 programs for that. A couple of other things where we have a marketing committee put together, which will begin its work this week or this coming week, sending out the first releases, the first graphics on announcing the layout or not the convention itself. We already have a contract with the motel. They would not open up registration until after the 11th of June 8th. So we can open that up now. People will be able to register. We've got our block of rooms and a couple of other quick things. We're going to be approaching a number of sectional or modular layouts, inviting them to come to the convention to display. And we're aware that at this time, that's maybe a little bit of a challenge just because of the price of fuel. People are going to be looking very carefully at what they want to do in terms of hauling and how far they want to haul. But those are the big things. We have the Facebook page for the O-Scale National Convention. We also have oscalenational.com, which is the website. And we'll be populating that with new information as well.
Okay, this is going to be a destination convention. This Colorado is nirvana for rail fans. It is worth lobbying your wife. It is worth spending the money. It is worth blocking out time well in advance. Bob and his crew did a great job under very trying circumstances in 2021. And I think they took good notes as to all of the stuff that they wanted to try. And because of time and manpower and COVID and all the other stuff that was going on, had to give something of a stripped down version. So 2023 should be spectacular. Michelle Campama did a wonderful post-convention Colorado rail tour, and I understand she's going to be doing that again. So watch the space as the website cranks up. One of the things that Bob didn't plug, but I will, is the convention car. Bob and his committee had ordered from Atlas a car commemorating the David Stewart's Appalachian and Ohio. With all of the supply chain interruptions, it did not make it to the 2021 convention, but they are in now and they're being used as a fundraiser. So ta-da, there are 2 different versions of this, a single door and a double door. They are $89, which is the current retail price for Atlas out of the box, off the street cars. And I bet Bob can tell us how one orders those.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. I see you also have one in the cabinet right behind your left shoulder.
I do.
I think that, and they're 2 different paint schemes. So the single door and double door actually have different appearances. We will be selling those online, as David said, for $89 plus shipping. And that I don't think we have that set up yet. We're working on the form right now for the registration and the cars themselves, but the cars are available. They're here in the US. They look wonderful. We had a run of 50 single door, 50 double door, and of those 10 each were in 3 rail. So as I recall, we're probably 1/3 sold out already.
I think we're probably a little bit above that, but yeah. So when there are only 100 cars total, they're divided between 2021 and 2023. And when this opens up, my guess is that they will go quickly. The only downside is Dave Stewart's layout is really neat. it is, you will have an experience when you attend the convention and go to his layout. And at that point, you will undoubtedly want an Appalachian and Ohio boxcar to commemorate it. And by that point, they'll probably be sold out. So don't wait on this. Get it as soon as it becomes open on the website. All right. We did have O Scale West, and I have been troubled that our organization has not been as strong on the West Coast as it needs to be. I've asked Joe Barker to help us in that regard, and he has graciously agreed to do it. And Joe did attend O Scale West. And if you could give us a brief rundown on what happened there and where we are going forward with them, I would much appreciate it, Joe.
Well, I attended O Scale West on, gee whiz, I've forgotten the date right now, but it was a couple of weeks ago. And I left materials for O Scale Central on the check-in table. And I also left flyers for the 2023 National Convention on the check-in table. I also went around and I passed out O Scale Central materials to every vendor I could talk to and any of the attendees. I really enjoyed the convention. There was a lot of stuff to buy, I thought, not as much as in past. A lot of the what I would call retail vendors did not attend. For example, in past O Scale West, I've seen Keys, Coes, and others. The public delivery truck, Beth, I've forgotten Beth's last name. She's normally there. They didn't attend, but there were smaller vendors. The attendance by buyers, I think, was disappointing for most of the vendors. The hall was pretty empty on Friday, at least most of the time. I didn't go back on Saturday because I had other things to do. But a friend who was there Saturday as a vendor told me that it was about the same on Saturday. The highlight of the convention for me was the Orange County O-Scalers. They're from Orange County, California, which is just south of the Los Angeles area. It includes Anaheim, where Disneyland is located. And they had a huge and very nice modular layout there. And I talked to the president and he said that they might be interested in bringing it to the 2023 National Convention if there's space and so forth. So I don't know whether Bob wants to contact them about coming to the 2023 convention or not.
We absolutely will. Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Their layout had been much improved over COVID. I saw it, for a period of over 10 years because I've attended O Scale West nearly every year. And they really made some major improvements during COVID. And, I hope that O Scale West will continue. But given the attendance, I don't know what that portends for that show. Dan was there. I talked to Dan for a few minutes. And Dan, you might want to give your impressions of O Scale West.
Yeah, pretty much the same as yours. The attendance was disappointing, although people were buying. So, I mean, I've always said I'd rather have 10 people with a lot of money than 100 people with no money. But some of the dealers, I was sitting next to a company called Just Trains that took in a huge O-Scale consignment. And they were asking if this is normal. I said, no, it really isn't. The last convention was 2019. And I thought that was fantastic. So I think it's still a COVID thing. The price of gas is stupid out there. The holiday weekend doesn't help anything, but I understand the hotel rate is something that's hard to turn down for that weekend. But I think next year it'll pop back. One thing I will say, I didn't see a whole lot of young people there. In Chicago, we saw quite an influx of younger people, and California, not so much. And I think maybe it was because it was a Friday and a holiday weekend, but that's something we'll have to work on. But we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. And, I brought stuff home, and I'm looking forward to next year.
It's clearly not an O-scale problem, because the Chicago March meet was a very solid success with great attendance, and it was dealing with the same kind of expensive gas and holiday weekend and the usual Chicago weather and all of that. I hope that the folks out at O-scale West will take a long look at that, and perhaps we can figure out ways to help them. One of the things that we want to do, we had a good presence at Chicago, and I talked with Joe, and we would like to do much better next year. We didn't get on top of it. I didn't get on top of it this year. We'd like to do better next year in terms of having some representatives there, having perhaps some clinics there, trying to participate more active in O-scale West as we have been at Chicago and Indy Junction and so on. But thank you very much, Joe, for attending and doing what you could do with regard to the O-scale West. All right. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that have been going on in terms of the organization. I've said before, we are changing the name of the front-facing part of O-scale Kings to call ourselves O-scale Central. That is in progress. I have been dealing with Dan Mason, our legal advisor, to have a DBA filed with the appropriate folks in Georgia, which is where we are incorporated, and we expect to have that in place within probably 6 weeks or so. We got nothing against O-scale Kings, but it is somewhat dorky and misunderstood to the public. And anytime you have to spend a couple minutes at the outset explaining the name of your organization, it probably means you should change the name. So we are in the process of doing that. Second, we do have a responsibility to get the word out about O-scale and to do it to non-O-scalers, as well as servicing the existing scale and our existing members. And we were very fortunate in getting the cooperation of the National Model Railroad Association, and in their May issue, they very nicely published for us an article called "O Positive: The Case for Two-Rail O-Scale." Multi-page article, went out to all 10,000 plus of their members. So everybody on their membership list got a direct dose of O-scale two-rail. And beyond that, they very graciously have allowed us to print copies and reprint the article. So there will be on the O-scale Kings website a link to enable you to reprint those articles for use in your open houses or your clubs or your convention tables. And it has been well received. We did take copies to the Indy Junction convention, and they went quite well. Second, we have been reaching out to be more effective in communicating with our members. The organization has been on a steady uphill climb, and a year ago we were communicating by having a monthly column on the O Scale Kings website, not even mailed or emailed, I should say, to our members. We have since added these online programs. We have added a quarterly journal called the Coupler, which will be focused more on feature articles and columns and special interest. And we have just started, the first issue came out yesterday, a monthly newsletter formatted communication called the Drawbar. And it should have been in each of your email boxes. Dan Dowdy sent it out yesterday, and we will be publishing this on a monthly basis on months when the Coupler does not come out. So we are, and in fact, this article, the main article in the newsletter this month was to review the things that have been talked about in the program today, dealing with Indy Junction, dealing with the O Scale National, and so on. And let me look here. All right. Now, this is our ask based on all of the things that you have heard and all of the things that we have in mind going forward. We need your participation. If you publish a magazine, everybody knows that the name of the game is you got to get stories. You got to feed the beast. And so we need to be having participation by our members. Somebody says, well, you know, those guys over at the O Scale Kings are not doing enough. They are not, they could be doing more. Well, there's no they, there's just us. And if we want this thing to work, everybody is going to have to pitch in. So if you've got a story for the Coupler, get it to Al Askerberg. You can send it by way of Nick Bulgarino at secretary@oscalekings.com. If you've got a story, if you've got a question, by all means, get it out there. Second, promote the scale. We cannot be at every train show. And if you guys out wherever you are, we'll be doing open houses, we'll be doing clinics at NMRA conventions, we'll be manning tables at train shows. You can help do your part. And finally, we need help on with membership. Think of yourself as your own local membership director and show your O Scale friends or people who are interested in converting what we're doing, what we're trying to do moving forward, and see if we can build a membership. Now, we can probably avoid bankruptcy without an expanding member base. We'll figure out ways to get the work that we need to get done. But to have street cred in the O Scale community, we need to have participation. And everybody knows that there was a period of time in which we as an organization were not doing a lot. And there's still a certain amount of reluctance on the street because of that. And so we need people to tell our story. We need people to vouch for what we're doing. And we need to build our membership up in the scale. One of the things that we are doing, and I want Eric Peterson to speak just briefly about this, is as we get more active, doing some review of where we are organizationally and where we're going. Eric, can you give us just a quick thumbnail on that? It's still a developing story.
Yeah, one of the things we need to do in a volunteer organization is talk with our volunteers and find out what they're most interested in and what they're realistically able to do, and that is in progress. And we'll be reporting on some of that at our upcoming board meeting. But it's been very encouraging personally for me to make the effort and talk to all of our board members and all of our volunteers or experts. And we're stepping up our game. I see lots of opportunity and I see some improvement ahead. But as I talk with at least one of them, watch for it, but they'll believe it when they see it. And I think our performance is going to be moving forward. We're working on things like being the central location for modular information from as many modular groups as we can contact. Membership directory for members to be able to see other members' information and contact if you're traveling. Things like that are coming, and I think they're actually closer than maybe we thought they were before.
Thank you, Eric. And Eric has been very energetic in moving that along. I really want to thank him for his efforts.